It's chaos.
It's a different type of Sunday scary.
It's your newest obsession.
It's Dirty Driving, a Formula One podcast.
We're the Hornsby sisters. I'm Katie.
And I'm Megan.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to another episode of Dirty Driving, one of the very few of the last ones for the 2022 season. And did we wake up to some news this morning?
We woke up to the piping hot tea that Binotto has resigned. We intentionally waited until Tuesday morning to record this episode because we had heard the rumors. Had anyone not heard the rumors? Well, it's literally physically impossible if you aren't on the internet in the last 3 weeks. But it was reported that on Tuesday morning, Ferrari would release the statement. It is now Tuesday morning. Ferrari has done exactly what they said. Surprising on that note that it wasn't delayed another week or days or whatever. Seems like we always know news is coming and then we have to wait a really long time for it this season. Nevertheless, Binotto released a statement. Ferrari released a statement. Whatever. The statement was released. Binotto said, "I am leaving a company that I love, which I have been a part of for 28 years, with the serenity that comes from the conviction that I have made every effort to achieve the objectives set." Two weird things about that. One, he's been with the company since I was born. I'm 28. He's been there 28 years. The man is Ferrari through and through. He started his career there. And secondly, and more importantly, the second line of that statement is very telling. Comes with the conviction that I have made every effort to achieve the objective set, which is technically true about this year. They wanted to be in the title fight. Check. They wanted to increase their driver and constructor standings. Check. But it was a pretty rocky year that ended up with Ferrari with only 4 wins. What?
You'd think it would be a lot more than that, considering how many times they were up on podium and how many times I felt like I was cheering for Ferrari up in the front. But then to look back on the season and realize that there really were only 4 wins, it's like, okay, something is not right, but also something was right.
It's the weirdest dumpster fire that turned out being like, not bad. It blows my mind when I think about the first race of the season. We have a Ferrari 1-2, and then we just have such a solid start that leads to a slow decline that ultimately was just plagued by a lot of reliability issues, strategy issues, and driver mistakes. I fully believe that, the buck stops with the CEO kind of talk, not the CEO, the team principal, like he's the one leading the decisions. But I truly don't know if Binotto was the one that they should have tried to get rid of. I mean, do I understand this move? Yes. Do I think that I don't think we really truly know how much of this was like him being forced out and him being like fucking done. Because, I mean, Katie, he walked away from the pit wall at this season. Like, couldn't watch how bad the race was.
And like, again, we don't know the conversations up at the top, but my first move would have been to scrap the strategy team and to replace them
with Sebastian Vettel.
And then reassess Binotto maybe at the end of next season. I just feel like Ferrari's a little down bad. And next year they're going to be even more down bad because unless someone comes in, does spectacular, does phenomenal, but there's always that like growing pain of a new team principal, a new driver. So I don't know. I don't think my first move would have been a scrap Binotto, but you're right. He could have honestly just been so fed up and wanted to retire after 28 years of busting his ass and working
Not
for
just busting
Ferrari.
busting his ass for the dumpster fire. I mean, what rebuild are we in? Are we in rebuilding year number 5? I guess I just wonder, and we'll never know this stuff because so many of the teams keep a lot of this. I mean, Christian Horner is willing to like talk about basically any drama, but the rest of the teams keep internal changes like this pretty tight. So we won't ever really know the details unless Binotto writes an expose, and he's not that type of guy. It's just been a fascinating couple of weeks to get to this point because it all started after Brazil. It goes back to, the last 3 weeks have been plagued with this talk, and it started with the Italian media saying that Binotto was out and Fred Vasseur was in. Okay, interesting. It was reported by one Italian media, and then it was backed up by another one, and then finally Sky Sports Italy also confirmed. Ferrari in turn, what did they do? I think it was the Friday of the Friday of Abu Dhabi. They said the rumors are totally without foundation. Well, clearly they were with foundation, and that statement was a complete PR move. I mean, if you read that Ferrari statement, in your brain, you should be saying a PR agency wrote this. No actual human inside the team wrote it. It was also interesting that not a single Ferrari CEO, team management above him, Ferrari management above him, I guess is the better way of saying it, backed him. That was the time that this PR statement's a piece of shit. Reports still come out that he's out. He's resigning now, and said it changes to he's resigning, and the issue is they can't find a replacement. I'm sorry. When Scuderia Ferrari can't find a replacement, shit's bad there.
Shit is bad there. Because people would be... I've seen so many, even just this morning, I don't know how people pull that together. Literally the news was announced at 3:30 a.m. U.S. Central Time, and there are already TikToks and tweets and Instagram posts about how I can be the next Ferrari team principal, all of the jokers. And it's just everyone would want that position. I can't name one person in Formula One who wouldn't want to maybe be the team principal for Ferrari, but clearly no one wants to be.
I can name one person, Katie. Ready? Apparently Christian Horner was approached.
That
was a hot no. I'm surprised Ferrari would do that because Ferrari, I just think back to when I saw that Christian Horner was approached, I immediately thought back to, I think it's Drive to Survive season 2, when the PR lady is struggling to get Sebastian. No, maybe it's 3. I don't know. It might be 2 and 3. She's struggling to get Sebastian to do the things like wear his mask right and all this stuff. He was wearing it, just was upside down. Imagine the Ferrari PR machine trying to contain Christian Horner.
She'd be the next one to quit. She's awesome. I unfortunately did not know her name off the top of my head, but she's got that bright red hair, and she's always cursing in Italian at the drivers because they're wearing their mask upside down, or Charles is late, or one of the things. And so seeing her try to control Christian, that'd be wild. I'd pay money to see that, honestly, but
that could be its own reality TV show. It's the scene where she's trying to get it's not funny. We're not joking today. Our performance is so bad. And Seb's isn't this the time to joke? And she's no, we do not joke today. There's no way that Christian would be contained by her. And she's wonderful, but I don't think anyone can contain that man. So he was a hot flaming no, apparently, rumors say. The other two, I already mentioned one, Fred Vasseur, which is interesting. That one's a weird take for me. It's not a surprising take, and really this is, in my head, what's most likely going to happen. But the problem here is that he rumored that he wants to make a clear Ferrari driver number 1 and driver number 2, which he, and subpoint B to that, he is a giant Leclerc fan. He was a very big supporter of him in karting, GP3, and even was his team principal his rookie season in F1. So that seems like a giant pile of poo, in my opinion. I don't like that plan, but I think that's most likely going to be what happens.
A giant pile of poo. That's great.
That's exactly. I mean, no, Sainz better be like.
Sainz better be like, fuck no, we aren't doing drivers 1 and 2. It's drivers 1 and 1.
He better be on the phone with his cousin manager. Managehausen. I'm trying to like put manager and cousin together, and it doesn't work. He better be on the phone to him like this. Mausen. Carlos Sainz better be on the phone to his Mausens like, yo, buddy, old pal, help me out here. This can't happen. I can't be number 2, especially because Carlos has had incredible resilience at Ferrari. I'm going to say that word this season. There were a lot of rocky moments, but he has muddled through them.
He's made it through. He is simply swimming and making it through.
The other one that has been tapped or reportedly tapped for the position is Ross Brawn. If that happens, everyone should be scared of Ferrari.
Yeah, that would, if not guaranteed. I mean, if they could get the car, that
he would get the car into shape.
That would guarantee a Ferrari win next year, almost.
And if not next year, the year after. He was the technical director. He was previously the technical director at Ferrari and was part of the dominant organization that saw Michael Schumacher win 5 times for the Scuderia. So if he was able to come back, especially because I don't even know if this is legal that he would go to Ferrari. I guess there's no real illegality in it, but it seems illegal considering he has been instrumental in managing F1 as the managing director, to then step down from being managing director and go to one of the teams. Wouldn't be surprised to see it happen, though. So what happens now? Unfortunately for Binotto, he's going to have 6 weeks of severance, so he's just going to go vibe while Ferrari seeks a replacement. Honestly, he's probably going to sit in silence. I imagine nothing less from him. And in the meantime, most likely the CEO, Benedetto Vegna, is going to be in charge, which is fascinating considering he was only at 5 Grand Prix this year. So he hasn't really, obviously he's been a part of the team, but he hasn't been at the races. The question is does someone pick up Binotto? Does another team try to snag him?
I'm trying to quickly think of where he could even go.
It won't be Red Bull.
Won't be Mercedes.
I don't know. They might. Not as team principal, maybe as a consultant.
Yeah.
That might be the power move.
That will tell me more, or that will give me more information as to whether or not he wanted to resign because he was done, or he wanted to resign because he was being pushed out. If he chooses to stay in F1, that will give us not a ton more clarity, but at least a little bit more clarity.
If anything, one of them should grab him so that they have the inside view on what's going on internally in Ferrari. Not that he's allowed to share proprietary information, but it's not like he can take a new job and completely forget everything he has seen, heard, and done at Ferrari. It's not possible. No matter how many NDAs are signed, he is still bringing institutional knowledge with him. I don't know. It's going to get spicy. I want to know. I have two things. I need to know who's going to replace him because no one is ever going to be the Harry Potter to Christian Horner's Ron Weasley in press conferences. And so I need to know who's going to replace him. Are they going to be funny? If not, I don't want them. And where is he going? Is he going to be okay? Obviously, he's probably made more money than I'll ever make.
In other news that has dropped in the past couple of days, news that I have honestly not fully digested. I'm struggling with this. I will tell you what it is, and then I'll tell you my thoughts on it, but I'm rolling my eyes. F1 and PacSun have formed a multi-year partnership for a merchandise collaboration. So the debut merchandise was premiered at Complex Con, which, if you're not familiar with that, Complex is the magazine, and they do a big, Comic Con, Complex Con every year. So we got 6 pieces of the apparel range debuted, printed with dynamic racing elements and neutral tones, covering t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies. And we will be getting another collection debuted or dropping for the spring of 2023. This is what the head of licensing and esports at Formula One said. This collection marks the exciting start of our partnership with PacSun as we look to engage the next generation of Formula One fans through collaborations in the world of fashion, music, and popular culture. I didn't realize PacSun was going to be their outlet to get young fans into the sport. I'm sorry, PacSun, out of all, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent. PacSun, out of all brands you could choose to partner with in the United States or US based to debut a line of Formula One gear, we chose PacSun. Did they do their market research?
Are there even PacSun stores still in existence? No one goes to malls anymore.
Yeah. Who orders PacSun online?
Do they? I was about to ask, do they even have a website? Obviously, they have a website.
They do have a website. I took a little look at it. I took a little look at it last night, and I'm just I'm unimpressed, Formula One. Extremely unimpressed. I know that it probably would have been a lot more difficult to work with a giant like Adidas or Nike or, even something along those lines. There are smaller athletic lines that they could have paired and partnered with. Lululemon,
absolutely not.
I know, but there are so many other.
Didn't they already have a deal with H&M? There's H&M merch that has F1 shit on it.
They had a deal with H&M, which that's already sold out. I've already set a calendar alert to look at the PacSun stuff. It goes live on December 12th. So there's a calendar alert on our calendar. Megan and I put it on our calendar for December 11th to remind us that it's coming out December 12th. But I'm just you're talking about the brand that has I don't know, Playboy and
is PacSun coming back? I didn't even know PacSun existed.
I didn't know PacSun. Yeah, I'm just.
I guess I'm just confused.
If they're trying to make an Abercrombie and Fitch comeback or Abercrombie and Co, whatever they call it now, comeback, I would have liked to have seen that comeback already happen, not happen in coalition with Formula One being their brand partner.
Honestly, I'd be less surprised. I guess what I don't fully grasp is I don't know if PacSun is first off, I didn't know they would ever be interested in it. Just I'm shocked that F1 is interested in PacSun, I'm equally as shocked that PacSun is into F1 because growing up, still to this day, I envision PacSun as the surfer, skater, California vibes. Not saying that they're I am not dissing shopping at PacSun or even the stuff that they have in PacSun. Maybe the Playboy stuff. I think that's a little weird. I guess my confusion comes from I don't know what these two things have in common. And more importantly, it's the fact that they said dynamic racing elements. Like
and
curves,
neutral tones,
flags.
Turns. I don't know. If you go to Formula1.com and find the news article, the press release about F1 and PacSun, you can see, I believe they have 2 photos, but here's my problem. Everything that they have put out thus far has PacSun on it. I don't want to wear a Formula 1 shirt that has PacSun branding on it.
I seriously thought this kid was Timothée Chalamet at first in the photo. I just pulled it up.
Yeah.
It's like, why is Timothée Chalamet? This just got weirder. It's not Timothée Chalamet. It is weird. It says fast is not enough. And it has a sketchy outline of a driver. And then it says F1 at top. And I'm assuming the back is where it says PacSun. But yeah, I concur. I want my F1 shit to say F1. I don't want my F1 shit to say PacSun. Because again, I don't know what those two brands have in common.
Yeah, I just think there were so many other options that we could have gone with. Hell, Zara. Like,
I'm sorry. This is just a black and white F1 car over a red F1 logo. Like, did F1 even need them?
Yeah, like I just like we could have done this ourselves. Are you not
making enough money, F1? Are you not making enough money on merch?
And then, like, I don't know if you saw this one.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, so you got the 2022 stock image car on there. And then you've got a little paragraph about Formula One. I just am like, I'm unimpressed. I'm unimpressed with their decision, and I'm unimpressed to choose PacSun, and I'm unimpressed with what I have seen.
These clothings better not be expensive.
Yeah, and don't even get me started if it's an $80 t-shirt, because
we've already given all of our money away to our driver merch situations. Okay, so as PacSun might be the most disappointing thing to happen in terms of F1 going viral, I don't know, moving into new spaces, right? I think that's what I'm trying to say. The more important part of F1 that's moving into new spaces is Roscoe Hamilton is now a superstar. He was in a commercial. Yes, I'm a bit upset that a dog has a sponsor and is a bigger influencer than I am. Not that I want to be an influencer. I don't even think Roscoe wants to be an influencer. But the commercial is insane. So you have Roscoe and Lewis Hamilton in a Zap commercial, which is essentially like a delivery service.
Yeah, it's like GoPuff, Getter. It's food and supplies delivered to your home.
But really the most important part about the whole video is that Lewis, if you haven't watched it, go watch it now. I'm going to say that because I don't want to spoil the joy of watching it for the first time. Look up Roscoe Hamilton Zap commercial. Go now. Okay. Now that you have left, if you haven't seen it, the cutest part is when Lewis calls Roscoe. Roscoe answers. I'm sorry. My dogs aren't smart enough to answer the phone. May hangs up on people because she's like, don't bother my mother. Click. He answers and then is like, don't make a fuss. And the commercial says it's Roscoe and it says makes a fuss. I died. I said nothing can get better about this commercial. And then it did. Roscoe was at the table with Lewis after he arrives home and he's eating pita bread.
It's hands down. I rewatched it right before we started just to get in the mood to talk about it. But it's hands down the cutest commercial I've ever seen for a delivery service like this. Like, Lewis comes home, he's in shock. He loves it. He's like, Roscoe, you did all this for me? And like, it's just spot on. It's so good. Even the delivery guy answering the door and sees that it's Roscoe. Like, it's perfect.
I also want to know how Roscoe has a credit card.
You know he's got Lewis Hamilton's credit card saved to his Zap account.
Does he use Face ID? It's just like there's so many things about the commercial that you're just it's a feel good moment. In fact, I think I might start watching it when I'm sad because it's so cute when he makes a fuss and then you have Roscoe ordering on the app. Oh,
cutest thing.
We seriously, this was something we needed. I think this was
needed
needed.
We needed
the
this.
fans needed some happiness and joy.
Because now we can watch this all off season long.
It was right as I was getting sad about the season being over that this came out, and I immediately was brought back to joy and happiness about how much I love F1. It's fine. I'm not really even sad that the season's over because it's only like 99 days till we race again. And this offseason is going to be wild.
Yeah, I mean, we've already got a team principal retiring, and it's what, week 1 of the off season, week 2 of the off season.
Honestly, it's the Daniel and Lando photography accounts that are going to sustain us through the off season. Because when the hell did the two of them decide that amateur I mean, their photography is amateur, but it is high class amateur, and it brings utter joy. Which leads us into the meat of this episode. The most exciting part of this episode, in my opinion, is Katie and I have brought down or chosen our top 3 social media moments of the second half of the season. And my first one, and really the reason I even decided that we were going to do this, is because of these photography accounts. Are they good photographs? No. Are they funny? Yes. Do they bring me joy when I am sad? Yes. Was the doll photo weird? Correct. Nonetheless, I live for a Lando.jpg or a Daniel.jpg drop. It brings me happiness. Just
it's
like
nice.
The commercial.
It's nice to see their world from their perspective of the camera. I think that's like the coolest part of it is we're getting more and more of what they do in their off time, you know, how they interact with each other, even at the end of the season. That's to me why I enjoy it. You're completely right. Is it good photography? No, but it's entertaining for sure.
It also, I think you're right about the perspective thing. It comes from the two of them just walking around with these very expensive cameras taking photos, as opposed to the Instagram. And I think that's what Instagram was supposed to and started out as. Just like, I take photos that I like, as opposed to the curated accounts that are clearly their, you know, official accounts and the team account. You know, the McLaren account is never going to post these like ridiculous parties pictures from the parties that they're going to that just are not, the resolution isn't there. Like, they're not curated to look a certain aesthetic. Whereas these are just, hey, I'm walking around, I'm taking photographs, hanging out with the drivers that I spend so much time with. And that's what's funny about them. It's funny. It's great. And then their like stupid little comments are adorable as well.
My first pick for the top social media moment of the year, I have Pierre on my list 3 times because Pierre works harder than the devil, works harder than Kris Jenner on Instagram. So I'll just kick it off with the best one. The doggy style moment. We all know it. We all remember it. Hopefully you haven't blocked that out of your memory, but someone commented on one of his photo dumps, "You look like a missionary kind of guy." And Pierre replied with the little dog emoji. Will we ever look at that dog emoji the same? No. And then we had Roscoe comment on the Instagram as well. So, I mean, that is a moment of Formula One social media that will just live forever, especially if I'm the one talking about it. So,
I really wonder if Lewis is the one on Roscoe's account or if Lewis has hired a PR person for Roscoe's account. Because
no, that is his guilty pleasure. He runs that, and that is his guilty pleasure of dad's brought me skate park today. You know, like his cute little dog commentary. I don't even know what to call it, but dog voice.
I need more Roscoe next year. I've decided. We need more Roscoe in the paddock next year.
For sure. He missed out on quite a few races this year. He spent
Poor
he
little
was
buddy.
like I know, he was like in LA living it up at his little doggy daycare for so long.
Wow. Honestly, I can fully admit that if I could be one animal, it would be Roscoe Hamilton.
Oh, for sure.
I'd
For
have
sure.
to be vegan, but if my meals were curated, I don't even care. My second moment, and really, okay, so bear with me. I chose plus 44 World, not because of the drops. I mean, I love the drops. I wish I had $1 million to spend on it, but because of all of the speculation ahead of the drops about what plus 44 World was. Everyone trying to figure it out, trying to like follow it, get access to it, no one really knowing what it is, but all of us secretly knowing that it was going to make us broke, whatever it was.
Yeah.
We didn't know exactly what it was going to be, but we knew that we were going to spend a shit ton of money on it.
For sure. We knew we were in trouble. The second that he posted that shit on his story and just said at plus 44, we knew we were in for it. No
It was
question
over.
about it. It was over.
Just
Game
give him
over.
the credit card.
My number 2 is Lewis's Africa trip. That was just phenomenal. The photos were phenomenal. Seeing how happy he was phenomenal. He broke the internet on multiple occasions when he would drop the next photo dump from his trip. So, I don't know. Just to see, yes, they all went on vacation. Yes, they all did their own thing. Yes, they all relaxed and had adventures. But to see that kind of trip and that kind of adventure and know how much it meant to him, that was definitely somewhere on my list for top social media moments.
You know what should be on our list that you just mentioned, breaking the internet? And you said we never really put it on our mid-season recap social media list, is when Lewis even fucking reemerged after his 6-week.
His 6-week, his 18-week or something. It was something ridiculous. It was like,
there's not 18 weeks in the off
I know,
season.
I had to think about that.
Is it 8? Was it 8?
Maybe it was 8. Maybe it was 8.
It was 8
I don't
that
know.
felt
It
like
was
18. We were concerned.
And then we got that picture of him going to get smoothies in LA, and we were like, okay, at least he's alive.
And then it was the Grand Canyon photo.
The Grand Canyon photo. Mm-hmm.
I'm back, bitches.
I'm back.
Oh, wow. That is another honorable mention. We'll add that to the honorable mention list. And really, that whole freak out about we haven't seen Lewis on Instagram shows you A, the power that he has as a brand, and B, the power of going dark on a platform and what it does to your fans.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely surprised more people don't take sojourns from Instagram. I think it only works if you're someone like Lewis. And it was even more gas on the fire, the dumpster fire, the crater of Abu Dhabi when he just said, I'm out. Because we saw him leave. We saw that video of him and Angela leaving, and then it was like, Lewis is gone. Where's Lewis? My third one is Valtteri's butt. It's his butt. I'm sorry. How many times have we seen it? A lot.
More than 5 at this point.
It's become such a phenomena. I love that everyone, and the second there's rain, we put Valtteri's ass out there.
The second
if there's a body of water, we put his ass in it. Photoshop is a wonder. I also paired this with his just rise and change on social media. It's been so interesting to see him have more of a personality this year. I don't know if that's a combination of not being at Mercedes, being a team leader, having Tiffany Cromwell. He just is living his bicycle, coffee drinking best life.
Mustache having.
I'm not into mustaches, but that one is quite pretty.
It's quite beautiful.
He's also in his like party shirt era. Like randomly he'll be wearing not really a party shirt, like biking shirt or like party biking shirts, if those are even a thing, because he has been rocking so many like nice bike fits lately that are like ooh, saucy.
My number 3. I don't know how you didn't have this on your list because it was one of the first I thought about. It's Yuki and Pierre karaokeing to Adele. Like, I think we forget that we were given that moment, and then we were given that moment even more, and then we were given that moment even more. And I think one of them captioned it like, careful with your, like, turn your headphone volume down, or like, careful with your ears, or something like that. And it's just, their bromance, their love is probably one of my favorite things of the whole entire season. I've come to really appreciate their relationship together, and the karaoke was a gem. It was a gem in a lot of darkness this season.
Those two are like the two kids that every teacher hopes are not in class together. Like the best friends that every teacher's like, I do not want those two in my class together. And if so, not even putting them on opposite sides of the classroom is going to solve anything. I can't imagine what briefings are like with the two of them. Honestly, their podcast that they've been doing is really sweet. You're right, the two of them together, it's just so funny. I love that Giuseppe Yuki was a thing. There are so many moments from the two of them, and it seems like very genuine, and I love that. I'm very sad that they're not going to be together next year. I understand. Pierre had to go his own way. I had to go my own way. Honestly, I'm surprised the two of them didn't karaoke that song.
Yeah, that'd be insane. Maybe I'll DM him and say, hey, before you officially move over, can you get with Yuki for one last karaoke and sing Gotta Go My Own Way by Vanessa Hudgens from High School Musical, if you don't know what we're referring to. High School Musical 2, to be exact.
I really hope that Pierre Gasly has seen High School Musical. And there is a part of me that thinks he probably has.
It could go either way.
It's a strange move there, but he seems like a guy that would be flipping through Disney Plus and put it on.
Yeah.
Weird energy with that statement, but it seems on brand. Finally, my honorable mention in the top social media moments, and this one seems like a little bit of a cop-out because it was so close to the end of the season, and it kind of like snuck in there, really, was the return of the suck my balls moment between Hulkenberg and K-Mag. I feel like a lot of the last couple weeks have revolved around balls, weirdly. Like we have Jost, and then we have the suck my balls moment. Honestly, I'm into it. It was a good moment. I'm glad it came back. I'm hoping for another one of these moments in the future because I'm very unhappy with this partnership. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have another moment like this, even after they have said that they are looking for a new relationship together. I don't know if they can bury this stuff that deep.
I have two honorable mentions. One is the phenomenon of Liked by Pierre Gasly that took the season by storm. It was mainly the first half of the season, but I feel like we still had to just mention it because he now has shirts that say on the back Liked by Pierre Gasly. Might need to cop one of those. And then the second is the dinner photo. And the dinner photo gets an honorable mention because everyone except maybe 5 of the drivers posted it. So the morning after that dinner, it was literally dinner photo, dinner photo, dinner photo, dinner photo, which was great, but it definitely deserves an honorable mention.
The fallout of it as well was pretty great when everyone was analyzing the photo, trying to be like, what are these envelopes? Why are they standing like this? What does the Simba thing mean? What Lewis is doing the one. What could possibly be that funny that Lando and Daniel are both looking at Fernando Alonso? There's so much analysis after it that you're right. It does deserve an honorable mention.
This podcast is brought to you by Racing Thread, Formula One clothing for any occasion.
Their clothing features subtle, evocative, embroidered designs for your favorite F1 moments.
From Ricardo's Monza Shoey to Sebastian's Australian scooter ride.
From Lewis's Brazilian comeback to Carlando's round of golf.
Whether you're out to dinner with friends, watching the race at home, or cheering in the grandstands,
gone are the embarrassing sponsor logos. Instead, Racing Thread is F1 clothing you are comfortable wearing anywhere.
Right now, Dirty Driving listeners can get 15% off Racing Thread's entire range of t-shirts, sweatshirts, and polos using the code Dirty Driving.
That's Dirty Driving, all capitals, no spaces, for 15% off their entire clothing range.
Head over to racingthread.com to shop F1 racewear for anywhere.
Next up on our little recap here is the top 5 cringiest moments. I have come to realize that there is way too much cringe in F1. And we have to just acknowledge it, accept it, internalize it, and appreciate it. Like, it's just part of the thing. So here are the top 5 best moments Katie and I decided from the second half of the season, because we already talked about it earlier about the top 5 from the first half. And the first one I gotta go with, and this is what reminded me that there is just a lot of cringe in F1. It's the video where George and Lewis are taking photos with the pole sitter, Max Verstappen, and Lewis like physically is like, and then him and George walk away, and Max is just like, why is the loneliest number?
No, he literally like looks over the side, like looks behind him, like flails his arms a little, and is like, well, I guess no one does really like me.
I mean, realistically, they are supposed to take the photo and walk away because he's about to get handed his pole position trophy. But it was just this very awkward, like, oh, they're not going to talk to me. They're not going to let me use my hand gestures and talk about the race and talk about not the race, the qualifying. It was just a very funny video. And the more I see it, the more I realize just how awkward it would be to be. I mean, it has to be awkward to get out of the car and be so dead ass tired and be like, okay, press photos. And while I don't think that Lewis was sighing at Max, it was a clusterfuck of bad. And the visible, like, whole body relaxing thing is so funny to watch.
It's good. It's a great cringy moment. It really is. The second one that we thought of had to be mentioned because it was probably the cringiest moment of the year, maybe? I don't know. Maybe I'm
This might be.
This might be it. It might be it. It might be as bad as like Kelly Piquet kissing Max's helmet last year in Monaco. Like I brought it up.
Oh, that was bad.
I brought it up. That was cringy. This could be cringier. It's post-race Japan. Did Max win? Did he not win? I feel like I can just leave it there. Like, did he win or did he not win? We didn't know. He did. He didn't. He did. He didn't. He did. He did. He did. No, he did. He did. He did win. And then he was like they were in the cool down room. He was brought into the spare cool down room with this red chair, which is screaming porn.
It was with the faux fur throw.
With the faux fur throw, and he's sitting there and he's like, yep, and then he gets up and he says, it's too lonely in there, and goes back out with the other two. And so I don't know, it's just
they couldn't
cringy.
get a blue chair. Like, why wouldn't they get a navy blue chair for Red Bull or a gold chair?
Yeah, or
it's just
not
giving
have
weird
done
vibes.
that. They could have just not have done any of that. They could have just completely skipped over the extended cool down room.
Because they didn't even know that he had won.
Max was like, no, I didn't do it.
No, he was not convinced because we didn't understand the point system. I will say that the only thing that was weirder than that, truthfully, in terms of his championship whole situation, or Red Bull's championship, is the shirts. The shirts were cringy. They don't read champions. Like, who graphic designed that? Because it's not good. And I'm sorry if you bought one, because people are going to look at you like, what the fuck does that shirt even say? Because I know what it says, but when you really look at the design, you're like, why is it off-centered and it's crooked and there's like a thing here and a thing here? And it's just like, how much money did you pay for that design? Because I think you should get a refund. Maybe you went over the cost cap because you bought these stupid, ugly shirts. And that's the tea.
And that's the tea on that one. Number 4. Another Red Bull moment.
They've been cringy this year.
They've been extra cringy this year, but this is the Sky Sports drama. Like, let's just refresh our memory here. Max said that he was done talking to Sky Sports because they kept saying that. Let me go back. One reporter mentioned that, the championship wasn't won properly. Max was tired of that. Max was done. So you know what? Red Bull and Max Verstappen aren't going to talk to Sky Sports. And then what's even cringier is, what was it, a week later, 2 weeks later? We had George Russell on stage with Sergio Perez and Ted Kravitz, I believe. Was it Ted or was it another Sky Sports reporter? It was Crofty. And George said, are you allowed to talk to Perez? Is that allowed? And I'm like, oh my God, this is George Russell bringing out the cringiest moment yet again.
The whole thing was stupid because the statement Ted Kravitz made wasn't even that bad. It was at the U.S. Grand Prix, and he was doing a pit lane walk and talking, and he said that Lewis was robbed. That is, in fact, a fact.
It's a fact.
Now that not Martin Brundle. Now that Michael Massey, it came out that it was human error. At the point that you say it's human error, it opens the arena for someone to say that Lewis Hamilton was robbed. It felt very, very strange and cringy. Really, the whole Mexican Grand Prix boycott of Sky Sports by Red Bull felt really strange and weird and awkward, but that happened this year. Add that to the bingo board. The final one, and we really can't have one of these cringy moments without mentioning Martin Brundle. Not that I don't love the dude. His pit lane walks are nothing if not entertaining. But the cringiest moment was not his brush off by Brad Pitt, but the wild F1 reporters on Twitter. So that was just awkward and uncomfortable as well. Also, I was like, oh, pour me another cup of tea. Let me keep refreshing my timeline here. Who's going to pop in now? So Brundle gets snubbed by Brad Pitt on the grid walk. The whole discussion of whether or not celebrities should be allowed to like not give interviews is a whole different conversation. So let's just move past that one. People were up in arms over this though, because Martin Brundle is an icon, blah, 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 blah. Who gets involved? Fucking Will Buxton. Because he just couldn't help himself. He tweets that basically that they get a list of who is approachable and who is not approachable for an interview on the grid walk, to which Martin Brundle replies to him and says, it's simply untrue, Will. Stop feeding into this narrative you'd like to portray. To which, as a sidebar, Chris Medlin and Jenny Gao get involved and they're like, we've never seen lists like that. They don't exist. Causing Will Buxton to send a screen recording. That's where we're at. He was like, let me get this on screen recording.
I got the read receipts.
Like the strangest read receipt running back I've ever seen that showed like all of the Austin talent that was attending the Grand Prix, and then says in it, he apologizes that he thought this was sent to everybody. I was like, you guys are wild today on Twitter. Like,
wild.
Are you guys in an argument? What happened that all of you are up in arms about this? I don't know if it was the sense that they needed to protect Martin Brundle over this. I don't know if this... I mean, this was a different level of awkward than the Megan Thee Stallion thing, because Megan Thee Stallion, it wasn't her, it was the bodyguard, as opposed to Brad Pitt, who snubbed Martin Brundle. And Brad Pitt was there to do research for his new F1 movie. So it did seem weird. Truthfully, it did seem weird. And Brundle did get a note from Brad Pitt about it, which Martin said was unnecessary, but nice of him. So the whole thing was just like, A, why would Brad do it in the first place? How does he not know who Martin Brundle is? He's making an F1 movie. And B, y'all were wild in the tweets. Are you okay, reporters? Are you all good? Will Buxton, do you have an issue?
The whole thing was absolutely insane, and it just gets me excited for next year's grid walks. Like, who's gonna, because we got Vegas next year, so who's gonna show up in Vegas and get Martin all in a tizzy?
Are they going to be drunk on the grid? I think they're going to be, because the grid walk is going to happen at night. Imagine some drunk Vegas celeb like stumbling and like falling into a car.
Horror. That'd be a horror show.
This is what Vegas is giving me. Like, that is my experience of Vegas, is people being drunk everywhere and stumbling about at night. So, yeah, let's just mix it with some F1 cars and see what happens.
Up next on our rundown of the season, Megan and I have compiled a naughty or nice list, and it contains people who are on our naughty list, but who are also on our nice list. Megan, where do you want to start, naughty or nice?
I think we start with nice because it makes me feel better.
Okay.
Obviously, number one is Papa Perez and Father Hamilton. I mean, I love their love, period. No further explanation needed. Papa Perez being Team LH is wild to me as well. Add all of that fallout to the cringe factor.
I thought about adding that in as like a bonus, but then I was like, no, that's done and dusted. We cannot.
I can't resurrect these feelings.
Number two, Yos Capito. I mean, he is on our nice list. He will forever be on my nice list. Not only did he make great moves in removing said driver from the grid, but we got a Suck My Balls signed hat from him. So he's on our nice list.
He also could not have been kinder. Could not have been kinder.
So kind, so genuine.
Did a phenomenal job answering fan questions, giving what felt like a very genuine perspective on pretty generic questions. I mean, I know I asked a generic question, but he really took it to heart and like answered it from a place of knowledge, but also a place of like, I would like to educate. And so that was really cool. I did love that moment. My third and fourth people on the nice list. By the way, if you haven't watched the Santa Clauses on Disney Plus, that's the whole reason we're doing a nice and naughty list, because it's not a naughty list. It's a misunderstood list. For our purposes, they are naughty. But the nice list is not complete without Yuki. We go from the Grazie Pierre on his car for Abu Dhabi to him drawing a penis on a shirt and then writing "Don't forget me." It's just that whole signed shirt goes from chaotic to chaotic with Yuki's name in the middle.
It's screaming chaos.
It's screaming a man who's being left by his bestie for like ever. It's literally like Pierre is going like across the world and is leaving F1, and Pierre is literally going to be like 4 garages down.
It's going to be okay.
They're not going to be that far.
They're going to be okay.
Okay, Katie, get us into the naughty list.
Yeah, I will bring us into the naughty list. My number one naughty, who will be my top naughty person for a while because this is how upset I am at this man, is Zach Brown. I just feel like he fumbled the bag entirely this year on being a decent human being. Yes, I said it. I'm sorry, but to let Daniel think everything was fine in D&D while in the other office you're signing another driver, I'm upset about it, and I will be upset about it for a while, and that's a big bummer because I enjoyed McLaren, and now not so much. They're on my naughty list for sure.
I can't wait for the next season of Drive to Survive to show all of this. I hope they show all of this. It's going to be a lot of interviews, and it's going to be very, very intense. You know what I mean, Drive to Survive fans. You've heard the music gets a little bit louder.
I can't remember who said it, but one of the drivers literally said, it might have been, was it Lewis? I don't know. But one of them was like, yeah, Netflix was filming that day and there's going to be some good shit. Not like that day that it happened, but just they were talking about a dramatic day. It's going to be wild. Like, balls to the walls, crazy. There was so much shit that happened this season that I want the background story and the insider story on.
Because last season was so dominated by the title fight, whereas this season it felt like shit was happening in all areas and it was all chaos everywhere. Which brings me to my naughty list, and I love him. And so he really is on the misunderstood list because I very much misunderstand this whole situation, is Gunther. My boy, my guy. The whole Mick Schumacher situation has really put just a nasty sour taste in my mouth about what's going on at Haas. It's a combination of the fact that Williams handled letting Nikki leave so well. They didn't really say anything bad about him. They just kind of played it out under the rug, never said a negative thing about him in the press, as opposed to Haas, where it just felt like they were flinging below the belt punches any chance they could, mentioning all the money that he cost them in crashes and the fact that he needs points or he's out. As much money as Mick Schumacher has cost them in crashes, I could argue that Mick Schumacher has brought them in revenue and interest. I love K-Mag, don't get me wrong, but there is something to be said about having Mick Schumacher in your car. And I fully understand why Mercedes is going after him to be their reserve driver, to get him. He's coming out. He's left the Ferrari Drivers Academy. So Mercedes has the opportunity to kind of pluck him, use him. And really, he's a good media play. I'm sorry. I got to say it. He comes with a lot of institutional love attached to him.
It's honestly probably the saddest thing, one of the saddest things to happen all season, is to see how that situation was handled.
And for it to not really be tightened up until the very end, and then for the answer to be Nico.
Don't get me started. Yeah.
We're not going down that rabbit hole today.
Don't get me started. Yeah. And finally, on our naughty list to round us out, it's Red Bull. I think we all know why. It's Red Bull and Max Verstappen. It's the Checo situation. It's the not letting Checo pass to get the points. It's Max being a jackass. It's Red Bull saying that they have, talked about it and shaken hands and everything's going to be fine. What happened in Monaco? Tell us more. Tell us what we need to know. Just let it come out because it's already dangling in the wind. And then explain to us why Max didn't play nice. Those are the two things I want to know, which I will probably never know.
No, they're never going to let whatever happened in Monaco out. And they're never, ever going to explain what Max's reasons are. I get now it doesn't really matter because he lost by 3 points. To me, that's not the point. The point was that Max had what he wanted. Why the fuck not invert the cars? Why not? After everything that Checo has done, you're going to do that when there's literally no utility in not. It seemed very stupid. And for his aggressive response, the whole thing just puts a really sour note in my mouth. And there are quite a few rumors that Checo is going to be pushed out next year and replaced with Daniel Ricciardo. I don't know. That seems like a bit of a stretch, but I mean, Red Bull will flip drivers at the drop of a hat. That's how Max Verstappen got into his position. That's how they got rid of Pierre and Alex. And if really there is this bad blood that they're talking about between the two drivers, and if it really is all about Monaco, then I don't see this getting better, especially if they aren't running away with it next year. If those two are actually forced to race each other for second or third, it will cause problems. There is no doubt in my mind.
It'll end very ugly.
Hopefully not with another Baku moment. Finally, this brings us to our rapid fire. So, Katie, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, standout driver, go.
Esteban Ocon, most underrated driver on the grid this year, hands down.
Okay, Nick DeVries. I mean, is there any other thing to say about it? His excellent performance in Monza. He got points in his first outing with Williams. However, I am a little bit worried that he has set the bar for himself very high and has to now live up to it with that excellent weekend of success.
All right, Megan, favorite race?
Silverstone. I mean, you said favorite race. I'm done. Silverstone was it. It was a miracle. It had the miracle of the season, which is a true, Zhao walked away from that incident. Alex Albon walked away from that incident a little bit slower, but it truly is a testament to how safety has improved in the sport. It also saw Carlos Sainz victory and pole. We had the 5-car battle. We had the Lewis double overtake. We had Schumacher. It was a great race. It was a reminder that these new regulations worked. Katie?
I went the race immediately after Silverstone, the Austrian Grand Prix. That was I think the climax of the season because in both of those races, we had that 5-car battle. In Austria, we had 5 drivers separated within a half second for the battle for 8th. And then we had Norris have a beautiful double overtake. Perez and Russell ran into each other in the first lap. Sainz's engine blew out that race, and Leclerc and Verstappen fought out well. Max had to overtake Charles 3 times to finally take the win. So I just felt like those 2 weekends separately were amazing, but those 2 weekends back to back, that was some of the best racing we had seen all season.
I agree. Next up is shock of the season. Go for it.
Other than Sebastian Vettel retiring, let me start that over. Other than Sebastian Vettel joining Instagram, then just to announce that he was retiring the very next day, I'm gonna go with the cost cap drama. I really had no idea. I hadn't even thought of it. Like, I knew we were, on budgets this year and cost caps were gonna, be a thing and they might be a bust, but I'm honestly so shocked that anyone, let alone Red Bull, really went over. So that was one of my other shocks. And then finally, this one has really just stemmed in the last week, and I threw it on the list because of this quote that just came out. But it was the drama between Ocon and Alonso. Like, I did not see that coming at all. Like, at all. And then just to get it all thrown at us in the last 2 weeks, Ocon actually said, I don't know if you saw this yet, Megan, but he said, honestly, the work was 98% on my back and 2% on his. I was overworked. I did all the development on the simulator, the marketing trips, etc. And I just thought that, you know what? That is Alonso's nail in the coffin and his final send-off to Aston Martin.
That relationship has just
tumbled.
Not been pretty.
No.
Not been pretty. It will be very awkward when the two of them have to race each other next season and they're on different teams. It was awkward this season, don't get me wrong, at the end. But next year it will be even more awkward when they're racing against each other. I have some interesting... I really thought about this because there was a lot that shocked me this season. One of which is... And this was definitely not something I thought was going to happen. The fact that there was only one driver not in the top 3 teams that was on the podium, it was Lando Norris. I was hoping for more. I thought there would be more. I really thought there was going to be a one-off victory from a not top 3 team. And I really thought we'd have some wild and crazy podium situations at many points in the year, not necessarily because the midfield teams had jumped up. I didn't think they were going to make a giant development leap, but at the point of the season when Red Bull's reliability was in question and when Ferrari's reliability was in question and Mercedes was struggling for pace and was bouncing up and down like they're at a rock concert, I genuinely believed that we were going to have an Alpine or a McLaren win, not necessarily because of anything that those teams have done, but more as a function of what the top teams didn't do. And then my next one is Nico Hülkenberg returning. Didn't see that coming. If you had told me he was coming back a year ago, if I had been like, yeah, at the end of 2022, Nico's going to come back, I would have been like, nope, not happening. And then the third one is Latifi and the points. I needed it for my prediction, but I didn't actually think that was going to happen. I'm sorry. It still seems weird that it happened.
It is weird, especially because all season long we were like, we only need one more driver in the points. It was just coming together so perfectly. And then he actually got up there and your prediction came true.
I was justifying the fact that my prediction was still right, even though he wasn't on the podium.
Wow.
Katie.
All right.
Last one, merch moment of the year. Go.
Oh, hands down, easiest question you've ever prompted me. It's Lewis Hamilton's Plus 44 World collab with Takashi Murakami. If you're not familiar with the Murakami flowers, they're the big rainbow flowers with the smiley face in the center. And what's wild, and I don't even know if I ever told you this, Megan, is I was doing a coloring page of a collage of all those flowers. And then a couple of days later was when he released that drop. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird that that coincidence happened. So I don't know. I love Tekashi. I think his stuff is really cool. And I think what he said about Lewis Hamilton, if you haven't read it, go take a look at his Instagram post. I'll throw it up on our story again. His words about Lewis were just spot on and so thoughtful. So that's definitely my merch moment of the year.
I mean, I'm mad at him, but let's be honest. Haas finally like leaning into the humor and doing the "we look like a bunch of legends" shirts is iconic. In fact, the only thing I'm upset about is I couldn't find the white ones in Austin. It's my only upsetty spaghetti moment. I also think they took a massive step up in their merch this year. It looks a lot less shitty, and maybe that's because they got rid of Uralkai. That also happened this year.
Yeah, that was a big shock. We kind of forgot about that one anyway.
And last, our honorable mention goes to the king of merch himself, Mr. Daniel Ricciardo. Let's discuss him, Katie, because we had Rick Rodeo, the Enchanté Chalet, and that shit hasn't even shipped. And now we have another
comfort line. It's calling it like the comfort line or something like that. Yeah. Which is all just sweatpants and sweatsuits that are cute. But here's the thing. I don't know if this man is just trying to get as many merch drops in before he goes into partial semi-break retirement mode. So he's like, people aren't going to buy my merch then. Might as well just drop it all now and get it out of the way. We would still buy your merch then. Just throwing that out there. Or if it's just this like all of a sudden burst of, I'm going to drop a bunch of merch because Lewis drops a bunch of merch, and I can't figure out the reasoning behind it, but it just is a lot.
I wish he would just admit that he wants a clothing line.
Yeah. It's also like, a lot of money.
Like, this is a clothing line at this point. Can you just do that if that's what you want to do? Because how many more collections can we get before you admit that you're just like a permanent, this isn't merch, this is like clothing. Like,
yeah, it's a brand.
When do we cross that threshold? Don't know. He is the king of merch drops quickly at the end of the season. I would say that Lewis is the king of great merch, where Daniel Ricciardo is the king of, I don't even know what he's the king of. He's just doing these random drops. Like, at least Lewis is around a race.
Yeah. It's odd.
It's weird. I think it was weird because it literally, like, we just got the content of them filming the Enchanté Chalet shoot. And now there's more stuff. I thought this comfort line was part of the Enchanté Chalet at first. And then I figured out it wasn't. So
separate. Yep.
And that is a wrap on this episode. Join us next week to review our 2023 predictions and see how well Katie and I did with predicting what was going to happen in the season. Sneak peek, we got some things right, but we got a lot of things wrong. Thank you so much for listening to another episode. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us at Dirty Driving Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
Until next time, stay dirty.